Buying your first home is an exciting time, but getting a mortgage isn't always easy. Luckily, some lenders' red flags are our green lights. That's because of our common sense approach to lending, which works for today's lives. You might be one of the millions of Brits who's now their own boss, even if that's only technically because you're employed as a contractor. Maybe you have a permanent job and get a steady wage, but your contract says you work 0 hours. Perhaps you've had to save long and hard to save a deposit, so you're buying your first home in your 40s or 50s and won't have paid it off until after you've retired. You've maybe been told your chosen property is difficult to mortgage because it's not made of bricks and mortar, or is ex-council, or is in a tower more than 6 stories tall. Or maybe it's your credit rating getting in the way, either because you've struggled to manage your money in the past, or you've only recently moved to the UK. If one, or especially if several, of these apply to you, we may be able to help you get the borrowing you need. And if we think you could get a loan from the high street at a lower rate, we'll tell you. If you've found the perfect new home but changes in your circumstances mean your current mortgage provider can't port your existing mortgage, we may be able to help. Perhaps you're moving into a property they're not willing to lend against, for instance because it has a timber frame or thatched roof or is in a retirement development. It could be that their calculations show you couldn't afford the repayments, perhaps because there isn't long left to run on your current mortgage or because you've changed how you earn your money. Maybe your credit history isn't squeaky clean. Say, because you've been unwell and you weren't able to work for a while. Or perhaps your employment status has changed, maybe because you've gone self-employed in the last couple of years or moved onto a 0 hours contract. If one or several of these apply to you, we may be able to help you get the borrowing you need. There are all sorts of reasons to remortgage, and if you find that your current lender can't help this time because your circumstances have changed, we may be able to step in. There are several reasons why they may say they can't lend. Perhaps you have too many credit commitments, even if you're remortgaging to consolidate those debts. Or maybe it's because you want to extend the term of your mortgage, but this means you won't have finished paying it off before you retire. It could be that your property needs some significant repairs like underpinning, so their valuation says it's worth far less than you expected, even if the remortgage will pay for the repairs. Perhaps your employment circumstances have changed, say you've gone self-employed or had to give up work to look after a family member. Or maybe your credit report contains defaults or CCJs. If this sounds like your life, we may be able to help you get the borrowing you need. The Right to Buy scheme offers people the chance to own their homes at a discount, and we believe you shouldn't be prevented from taking advantage just because your circumstances don't fit the traditional mortgage mould. We may be able to lend if your house is made of concrete or has a steel frame, or if your flat is in a high-rise block. Maybe you've been told your employment status or credit history could stop you from getting a mortgage. We may be able to help if your credit report contains defaults or CCJs, and we won't turn you away just because you're self-employed, work several jobs, or have a 0 hours contract. We could even help if you don't work, perhaps because you're retired or because one of you is unable to work through long-term illness. If reasons like these mean you're struggling to find a mortgage, let's talk. If you're struggling to secure the mortgage you need to buy a shared ownership property, we understand. And there are all sorts of reasons why mainstream lenders may not be able to help. But we may be able to. Talk to us if you're buying an apartment in a block with 6 or more stories, or if your employment status is getting in the way, whether that's because you're self-employed, retired, or rely on bonuses and overtime to top up your wages. We could also help if your credit history isn't perfect, or you've only recently moved to the UK and don't have much credit history at all. We take into account the realities of serving your country. So we'll consider your mortgage application even if your circumstances mean some of the mainstream lenders won't. Perhaps they can't help because you've been stationed overseas for a while and your address or credit history doesn't meet their minimum criteria. Maybe you've had to use payday loans in the past to help manage your money while you're outside the UK. Or maybe you've missed a payment or two while on deployment. Or it could be that they're not happy to lend on the home you intend to buy, for instance because it's an ex-council property or it's situated in a high-rise tower. Unencumbered is another way of saying that you own a property outright, maybe because you bought it for cash or you've paid off your mortgage in full. If you find yourself in this situation, you can still borrow money against your home. It's a bit like remortgaging, and unlike some lenders, we won't specify that you need to borrow huge amounts when you do. In fact, we'll let you borrow as little as £20,000, paid back over as little as 3 years. And you could use the money for anything you like. Perhaps you'd like to buy a new car or to go on the holiday of a lifetime. Or maybe you'd like to give it as a cash gift. Maybe to help your own children onto the property ladder, or to pay for their wedding. It's totally up to you.